Mr. Robin Sethi. Welcome to the channel Kahani's Golden Bytes. Thank you for taking your time to be on the channel.
Thank you, Joby. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a humbling experience for you to call me up and, bring me to this forum where I'm happy to share whatever you would, whatever I can in terms of my experience in the, in the business world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very touched with that, Mr. Robin. So, Robin, for the benefit of our viewers, may I please request you to give a little background about yourself, what you're doing, Mr. Robin?
Sure. So I'll start. Well, I've always been a Delhi bred boy. I went to St. Columbus School, finished school in 1984. My dad was, a senior government official. So when I finished school, I went and did history honors from Delhi University, because at that point in time, it was also, the IAS and, considering looking at that. But during my history honors, I decided that was, the IAS was not my cup of tea. And so I decided to do my MBA. So in 84, I finished school, 87, I finished college. And then I went and did my MBA from IMT Ghaziabad in 1989. And campus recruitment took me into Indian multinational, not so much of a multinational at that stage of life, which was Dabur India Limited. So I spent the first 9 years of my life in Dabur India Limited. It was, and for any new working person, that was one of the best stints of my life, because you join an organization, and an Indian organization gives you a lot more freedom, to do what you want to do. Obviously, with checks and balances, but it gives you, you have the ability for creative expression and stuff like that. So I joined them as a management trainee, spent 3 years as a product executive, handling one of the largest brands at that stage, which was Dabur Chyawanprash. And thereafter, I resigned. So, the company asked me, why are you resigning? I said, you're not giving me a sales stint. Only Unilever used to allow for a sales stint at that point in time. And I said, you're not giving me a sales stint, and I don't think my learning will be complete without a sales stint. So they said, no, take it back. You're the first batch of management trainees. We'll give you a sales stint. They gave me a sales stint in Eastern UP, which was one of the largest selling territories for Dabur at that stage. And I had a phenomenal experience out there. 3 years down the road, I came back into marketing as a senior product manager. Again, by chance, handling Dabur Chyawanprash. So back to my original brand. Thereafter, I had spent almost 8 years out there. And then the issue became, I haven't explored the world enough. So, so then thereafter I resigned. I joined a Gillette joint venture for the launch of, which was created for the launch of Parker Papermate liquid paper, from the Gillette range. So I joined a company called Luxor Writing Instruments and launched both Papermate as well as liquid paper in that organization. Did fairly well, but then Gillette decided to move out of India, directly. And, Parker was to be sold to a third company. So I left and joined my current organization, which is Godfrey Phillips India Limited. Now, I joined in 1999, and it's been 22 years almost that I've been in the same organization, but I've been handling different roles. I today am the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, as well as the business head for the cigarette division. So that's where things stand, and that's how my journey has been.
That's absolutely, fantastic to hear, Mr. Robin. So, several things strike me, and I'll try and take, some of it at least in this short conversation. So, Mr. Robin, you said 22 years in Godfrey Phillips. There are industries and segments where people do not last this long in any form or manner. In some segments, yes, that may be the government, and in some segments which are non-government, maybe like a professor, etc. But in the corporate world, it's rare to find somebody who's spent so much time there. So, and you said cigarette division.
So I'll take you through my journey in GPI.
Please.
I joined actually in the tea division. Okay, in 1999, I joined as head of marketing in the tea division. That was a small division, but it had a very famous brand called Tea City. Tea City was launched in a very unique concept where you had shopping shops and consumers could actually taste the teas, blend the teas themselves, and buy the teas. So it really, it really picked up very, very fast as a concept. But then, due to various issues of, mixing happening at the retailer end and all, we went back into packaged tea. And these 22 years actually have been, you can break them up into segments of 3 to 5 years each. You understand? Doing different things. So every new aspect was always challenging. And therefore, these 22 years have actually gone past in a jiffy. And you don't even realize that you spent, such a long time in the organization.
Wow. So what is the biggest pull there that you've stayed this long in this organization where you still are in, what is the biggest pull for you?
Yeah. So it's been an exciting journey. You know, and as Indian multinationals, you're given a lot of freedom, as I mentioned earlier. So, for example, in my first stint in the tea division, we were the first people to actually launch a blended tea. Tea is actually a commodity in India, right? And you have brands, but it's basically the same CTC tea. So what we decided was, listen, why don't we mix long leaf flavorsome tea along with CTC to give the consumer a different, drinking experience? And that became a range. And then that was copied by all the other tea companies in India. Now they were larger, they had lots of money to spend. So obviously they made brands out of it. But I mean, that's where I'm coming from. You get a lot of scope to learn, experiment, and grow, in your grow the business. And that's what I did. Thereafter, from tea, I moved into a beverage vending project. It was part of the tea, this thing, where we imported these massive Japanese cup vending, drink vending machines, which were able to deliver about 45 different varieties of, cold, hot, brewed beverages, carbonated beverages, milkshakes. You had the whole thing. So I got that opportunity to set up the, actually take it forward, and it was an experimentative phase of the journey, and we wanted to experiment. So I mean, what greater fun can you have when you set up right from scratch the entire process of a business? And we decided to do it in Bombay because Bombay was, the most expensive real estate. So if you're successful in Bombay, it's very easy to, transport it to other parts of the country. The only issue was at that stage of life, the coin vending and the bill vending, apparatus was not available. Indian notes could not be read. And, so therefore we had to have manpower behind every machine to dispense not only the drinks, but also dispense the money. And it became slightly unviable, but it was a great experience because I was, coming in and creating our own drinks and, setting up the entire supply chain and the flavor houses. So again, great fun. Okay. And a great learning experience. Thereafter the company, thereafter I did Six Sigma. I'm a black belt in Six Sigma. Okay, so I did a couple of projects in the organization, especially in terms of, our product development timeline was too long. So cut it down to about 6 months time. Then I did a couple of projects on sales and distribution. Thereafter, I joined sales as the regional manager of East. And then 2015 onwards, I came back to head office as the marketing head for the cigarette business. And it's been a wonderful journey since then. When I took over, GPI was not doing too well. Okay, we had come out of 3 years of decline in market share as well as volume. So my job was clearly cut out. I had to resurrect the brands that we had. I had to launch new brands and overall take the cigarette business back into growth, onto the growth path. And that's what I did exactly. Grew market share, by 1.5 percentage points in 4 years. Strengthened our brands immensely. And today we stand at a cusp where we are number 2 and we are ready to grow. We won't become number 1 because of ITC as the giant sitting there. But an exciting journey, a very, very exciting journey. And, Joby, what happens is when you launch a new brand, you've created it, you launch it, and then it's like a baby. Okay, so you really grow it, from the GTM angle, etc. So all these things are very, very exciting. And therefore, I've never really looked around or thought about shifting companies. I've got lots of offers. But when you see your own, creations growing and becoming successful, we launched a brand in 2015 called Crush, Foursquare Crush. Today, it's a 100 million brand. So per month. So, these are the sort of, challenges and the excitement of the job that takes you forward.
So Robin, that's a lot of excitement happening. Okay. Now, liberalization happened and you were doing all of this at that time. But when liberalization happened, money came into the country and it came into the bottom of the pyramid. That's why you had the Maruti 800 non-AC selling, etc. The two-wheelers kicked off, multiple industries. Now, given that scenario where, so many companies were just pouring in, wanting to buy off people like you, you were getting excited staying in, GPI, and they would have been offering all kinds of perks to you. And yet you decided to stay because of the excitement of the organization, right? Whatever you were getting, all the challenges. But tell me, you also stuck to an industry which is tobacco, cigarettes, which is so highly regulated. Every year since decades has been getting harder and tougher. Why didn't you just move to a softer product for another company that is, willing to throw you money? You're sticking to a highly regulated, tough to crack market, and you're smiling there. Tell me more, Robin. Tell me more.
So absolutely right, Joby. Actually, what happens is the cigarette industry is such an industry where every day it throws up new challenges. You have regulations, so you can't do half the advertising that is allowed. Okay, suddenly one day you wake up and and the government decides that there'll be an 85% graphic health warning on the cigarette packs. So it's you live from day to day. Okay, suddenly they decide that taxes will go up or taxes will, get rationalized, whatever. So you live from day to day. Cigarette marketing is actually your time. Your hands are tied behind your back, and you're being forced to sell and to create consumer demand and to create, consumer affinity. So, so you actually become much more out-of-box thinker. You become much more creative. You become much more nimble on your feet, in terms of deciding what needs to be done on the GTM front, GTM as in go-to-market. So it's actually a very exciting process. And yes, lots of companies, I did get offers, but FMCG, and the core FMCG is exciting. Okay. And I decided to stick along because of the fact that I was doing so well. So why should you leave at a stage when, when things are growing and you are getting your rewards? And money is not the primary concern. Money is important, but it's also the satisfaction that you get in an organization when you're able to drive it forward and take it forward in life.
Robin, one last one, before, I won't take more of your time, but Robin, given the depth of your experience and, in various companies and in, Godfrey Phillips, you would have faced several managers as anybody would, in such a stint. Now, while some of them would have motivated, an individual and taken them forward, there are some of us who face tough managers or tough or uncomfortable situations. Any advice for someone who's in that stage of life where you have an uncomfortable situation in your immediate manager situation? Any advice for that group, given your experience, Robin?
Sure. See, you can't choose your managers just like you can't choose your parents at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And you have to go with the good and the bad. The point is that, you stick to your agenda. You be strong. Whatever brickbats you may get, if you believe intrinsically that you're on the right path, okay, then nothing should, whatever you may get from your bosses, okay, you should be willing to stick it out. And I'll give you one personal example. I had a boss who was, exactly that. He used to, throw things back saying that, no, I don't agree, and this and that. But I stuck with it. And, in about 1.5 years later, I would do what I would do then is do small experiments. He would say, this will not work. I said, fine, you believe it won't work. I believe it will. Let me do a small experiment in one small area. And, each one, we'll see what happens in the outcome. And finally, 1.5 years later, he was the one who turned around and says, Robin, you've taken my job from me. You do everything. I've literally got nothing to do. So, those are the praise that you actually look forward to. So despite being a tough boss, having a skeptical attitude, I was able to manage it by, experimenting here, experimenting there, and proving my point and pushing things along. Ultimately, every manager also wants success of the organization and success for himself. So, small experiments, he went with it, he stayed the path, and we were able to successfully prove that, listen, it is possible to do it this way. And so I always believe it's very easy to run from a situation. But why run from the situation, especially when when you have that conviction within you that it should work. So stick it out. And ultimately, no human being is a bad human being.
So true, so true. Mr. Robin, thank you so much for your time and sharing your views. Thank you for coming on the channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joby. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope, our discussion will help, lots of people, especially the younger working crowd. I hope it helps them to, choose the right careers and the right path. Thank you so much, Joby.
Thank you.
Thank you.